So our next speaker is Karolina Komarnicka, who is the head of marketing at GEMBA and the Leadership Network. The Leadership Network is a leading corporate training company, and GEMBA is the world's first accredited training program in virtual reality. Karolina has recently directed a documentary series, The Boardroom, in association with Hugo Boss, Lego, Electrolux, and Toyota, and is currently working on a new series in the immersive technology space. Today she'll be speaking about true transformation using virtual reality. Please help me welcome Karolina.
I'm not sure if this mic's why it's working. So, hearing everyone speak today, we are all aware there is a bright future out there made possible by the power of VR to, sorry, is this working? There you go, thank you. By the power of VR to really connect people to make the experiences and learning more exciting and accessible. But we have to remember that we're really not here to dictate the future. Those who use the technology are, and the hardest people to convince are those who have been in their jobs for 20 plus years, have really been and done it all. I'm here today to introduce you to 4 incredible people. Chris, which I really can't, this is not working.
It's the pointer, it's on top, the green one on top.
Yeah, got it. Chris, Paul, Michael, and James, people we really consider to be examples to follow when it comes to embracing new technology for a bigger purpose. Those people manage a combined number of 500,000 people, are responsible for 156 sites worldwide, and they really are what we consider to be the best examples for, figuring out how do you reach thousands in the space of 2 to 3 years, which you would think logistically is just not possible. And their challenges to us are not just business as usual. They affect real lives. For Michael, he's already sacrificing his marriage and time with the kids, traveling 50% of his time. If he's to reach 40,000 people in 12 months, which his mandate is actually indicates for this year, he would not be home for the next 12 months. That's a long time away from kids and partners. For Chris and Paul, the target of training 108,000 people would mean they would have to make 4,320 trips in 36 months. Again, really long days, really long travel. And for James, regular travel to places such as Russia and Algeria to be able to train his teams monthly to the same global standard are just really not the easiest destinations to reach. And the pressures faced by those guys are just a drop in the ocean of Fortune 500 companies, of which 2 out of 5 could be gone in 10 years, according to Washington University Business School. Now, we really heard a lot of singular use cases, especially in enterprise, where VR has proven itself to be the best option around, such as surgical training, and it's all really impactful stuff. But in GEMBA, we've taken a slightly different angle based on our experience training 3,000 plus executives to whom the ultimate goal really is to achieve transformation. And true transformation starts with people who really don't accept excuses, don't take first no for an answer, and truly believe in what they do. We call these people the change makers. I hope the stories I'll tell you today really give you an idea of our vision for the future, where executives come to one place to communicate, manage their teams, and scale their learning worldwide, but also reveal what it really takes to get there. Meet Chris. He's our coach style leader. His story goes back as far as 30 years ago. When his football career didn't take off, he took on a series of jobs. He started in the bakery, he would stay after hours to perfect the art of bread making him a master of his craft. He would then work in a factory. He would stay, day and night, starting to be able to be the best at what he does, and resulted in him training the trainers who lectured him a year before, which really gave him a taste for coaching. 4 years down the line, his combined passion for excellence alongside natural leadership abilities made him unchallenged when working for a leading Fortune 500 manufacturer. Delivery rates were 100% on time, there were no defects for 3 years in a row, 0% safety incidents, and 10% productivity increase year on year. Chris met Paul at 18, and they've spent their professional and personal lives getting the best out of each other to really inspire thousands of others to think and act the same way they do through coaching, following each other wherever their professional careers took them. They came up with this holistic approach to excellence, which matched with their passion for coaching, is now responsible for the success of the 3 of the biggest companies in the world, and which now landed them the task of repeating their success across 111 sites worldwide for a new company, which their bankruptcy meant that they needed to now rebuild a culture of excellence, but also upskill half of the workforce due to the transition from the traditional manufacturing to a solution provider. Now, the problem is they're both exhausted. They're already spending only 1 day out of a week in an office, 3 days with their family, including a weekend, and their deadline is tight. When we showed them our platform, they really got excited by the possibility of reducing their travel, meaning they can now upskill the workforce without having to leave their home, tracking progress to detailed analytics. They also saw how they could use it to optimize the communications by bridging a gap between the traditional manufacturing division and digital platform teams. We had actually Chris travel to our office in London to brainstorm a business case he can push with his management, going over current spend and time committed. The numbers spoke for themselves, but we didn't have trouble landing the pilot. The thing is, we saw a bigger opportunity. The sheer scale of people that have to be trained by Chris and Paul lent itself to a much bigger enterprise solution, and that's exactly what we offered them. It took probably 31 phone calls, 14 of which were missed calls from us, to get our final yes from Chris, Paul, and the management. The decision to invest in VR for these guys was actually a conscious step in their 10-year coaching journey, which now marks the 6th year, and scale is everything to them. It's an answer to a company whose bankruptcy means they need to invest in their people and make them excited again. And for us, it was really a use case for the first time when we had 100,000 people deploying this worldwide. Moving on to, this is just the explanation of what I just said. Moving on to Michael, our democratic leader. Michael's leadership focuses on communicating to people their worth and potential so clearly that they come to seeing in themselves, and making sure this impact lasts in his absence. He is truly passionate about creating an environment when his teams and individuals flourish and truly invest time in his people. He spent the last 10 years abolishing this culture of command and control, really taking the fear out of working and making sure he liaises on all the decisions with his teams. He introduced this thing called Impact Day to be able to instill his teams with purpose and continue to inspire them daily to make sure that they are ready every day for a new challenge. For him, he has been 10 years now where he's been able to train his teams across the manufacturing division, but he's recently been tasked with managing a global customer services function that lags 10 years behind the manufacturing division, something that has to be fixed in a very specific time frame. And that's where we met Michael at probably just the right time. He saw our platform and he immediately saw how he could reduce the travel, get really 12 months of his life back, and quite frankly, save his marriage. We traveled with him across the world to be able to introduce this solution to people in his division. The problem was that his stakeholders that he responded to were not as excited about this platform. So what Michael decided to do is go straight to the top and literally timed our demo to a second around the visit of the planned VP so that he can see the energy around it and really be more inclined to listen. He then followed up with a meeting invite, which he used as an excuse to put a headset on him. For us, it was Michael's strategic awareness of that stakeholder buy-in that got the decision over the line, but it is ultimately the way he included his teams in the whole process that allowed him to now expand this training to a new continent. He's obviously fully aware he has a massive learning curve ahead of his division, but now he has this confidence about the future, having the solution, knowing he's going forward. When we asked him why VR now, he said to us, change means improvement, and without improvement, we cease to exist. To fail is not an option. And to us, that was a really great way of kind of identifying he's a true leader who believes in really what he does. He's also a reason why his company now will remain competitive for the next 10 years, because what this solution means is he can have all 20 department heads every week in VR, being able to strategize about the future of global customer services, but also identify actionable steps. Finally, meet James, our early adopter. James manages an environment in which a single mistake can cost not only hundreds of thousands, but also someone's life. To him, attention to detail has truly a different meaning, and his leadership really focuses on creating that empowerment through process ownership, making sure his people are able to optimize and change it. But to be able to do that, he needs everyone to have the highest level of understanding of that process, something which is just impossible to do with some of the key sites being based in difficult to access areas. This creates this problem of an integrated training approach because currently some plans are clearly ahead of the others. Another giant challenge for James is the fact that he's facing huge pressures to reduce the company's environmental impact. Last year alone, their CO2 emissions, I think, were 269,000 tons. It was James's early adopter approach to technology and really the confidence that comes with it, which actually made him put his own job on the line for this, that allowed him to use our solution and pilot it to be able to expand the scope of the Lean Standards program, really reach those remote sites to ensure adequate training, and start reducing CO2 emissions in real way, one flight at a time. For all these guys, VR really is a conduit to leaving a legacy and achieving something bigger than themselves, and I truly believe we have a lot to learn from them when it comes to driving true transformation of VR. The first thing is to put together a strong business case and really make sure it stacks up before putting anything forward. Second one is know the dynamics of your company and really make sure you have the attention and support of the key people. Don't give up if you hear a no. Find another way to get a buy-in because seeing really is believing, like a lot of people said today. And really be passionate about your cause because it is true passion that creates that transformation, not technology. The truth is that the mass market wants something that works, they want something safe, and enterprise VR is not that yet. So you really need to find those early adopters, the change makers, whether it's through democratic leadership of Michael, the passion for coaching of Chris and Paul, or the early adopter approach of James. I think it's important that you really try and find it in yourself to embrace that change, trust that you're right, and most importantly, don't give up when it gets hard because true transformation really happens through people, not technology. Thank you.